And how is the recording going? I'm trying. I think this is turned on now. The mic. Are you receiving? Yeah. I have a timer on the screen here. Yeah, like an academic minute.
Yes.
Hey everyone, if you guys want to join me for my talk about Perl Mongers and stuff, then we're starting in a moment. Come on in. Yes, it's a 50-minute talk, out of which I'll be finishing early so that we have some talk time for ourselves and can discuss and throw ideas around and share some experiences perhaps. Yeah, I'll talk slowly, and if I spend half an hour on my slides and trying to get my point across, we'll have plenty of time for questions and discussion afterwards. And that I'll leave it open. All right. So I assume everything is okay and the mic is on. Welcome to this crazy name here, European Perl Mongers Organisers Forum. I'll talk about that in a moment. So first, a little bit about myself. We just had a keynote where we said the point was we don't care about who we are. So I'll just mention it anyway. I'm Salve Nilsen. On CPAN I have published one module, which is just a joke module. It doesn't matter. I'm on Twitter, and I've been working with and around and for the Oslo Perl Mongers for many years. So who am I to invite to something like an European Perl Mongers Organisers Forum? Because as far as I know, there hasn't been anything like that before. I might be wrong. I just looked at the talks and said that nobody looked and found that nobody was talking about this topic, and I was thinking, I wanted to do it, and even if I'm not like the best person to do it, here we are. Here I am, trying to say something interesting about this topic. Somebody has to do it, in my opinion, and apparently Mark found that he agreed. I've been active in the Oslo Perl Mongers since around 2002. I've organized a lot of stuff over the years, not as much as many others here, but it's been a small conference now and then, a bunch of meetups. I'm the guy behind the Perl QA hackathon, which now is called the Perl Toolchain Summit. We just had one in Oslo in April, the 10th year anniversary. It was awesome. And I for some reason, I end up talking about some community stuff when I'm at the YAPC or a Perl conference. So my contribution to whatever community we have is usually more about like saying the word community than actually writing code. This might be a weakness or not, I don't know. But at least I've been around for a while. This talk is mostly to get you to think about our community a little bit in perhaps, I don't know, an interesting new way. I hope some of you have already thought about it. Let's share some experiences and provoke each other a little bit, and we'll have time afterwards to discuss and share experiences. I'm maybe afraid this will not turn out well in the recording, but this is mostly for us, so we'll see how that goes. We will have a Birds of a Feather session on Thursday at 12:40-ish, so we get pick up some food and find wherever we'll be. So that means if you get some interesting thoughts or you talk with each other throughout the day, you can come later tomorrow and share your ideas and thoughts with us then. So this is not supposed to be a one-off talk. This is what I'm hoping to do here is that we talk a little bit throughout the whole conference about how we can improve the community and which steps we can take, and maybe if some of my crazy ideas are. Yes. Okay. So the buff is already registered on the wiki. So if you want to know where, yeah, okay, you can register there. So it's ready to be listed there. And I'm doing making some assumptions here. I'm assuming that it's true still in 2018 that most businesses aren't actually really open source aware. What does that mean? It means that they understand the role of open source software and communities in their businesses and have a relationship with those communities. I'm also assuming that communities, including ourselves, by organizing stuff, writing code, creating gathering places and discussing, we're actually adding value by being part and creating a community. And I'm also assuming that the combination of the software we produce and fix and whatever is better with the community than without. So if you disagree in some of my basic assumptions, then we have some interesting discussions to have later. So let's talk about some basic points. This is a rough outline of the topics. I'll talk a little bit about the value propositions, a little bit about volunteerism, a little bit about the roles we have as a community within the bigger picture, and the role of businesses as opposed to the community and what they're doing in relation to us. This is not a quote from me. I don't remember who said this, but I've listened to that. I think it was this lady that used to work in, or works in PayPal, that gives some open source talks. But this is basically a fact. If you do any business right now in 2018, chances are you will. It's not a question if you're using open source software. It's about how much. I would guess at least 90%, and I'm probably conservative here. At least 90% of any kind of thing you do in any business today involves some kind of open source software, either as a part of the tool chain or as the actual languages you use and the environment around that, or libraries or operative systems. Is like almost everything, and we're part of that as in the Perl community. So there are some benefits here by using open source software, and the obvious one is that value creation in businesses are insanely more efficient by using open source. You get to start at the 90% level or something like that, 80% level, instead of at the 10% level. You have frameworks and operative systems and all kinds of cool infrastructure just ready for you to use that you don't have to implement yourself, like software development companies had to do just like 20 years ago. This is huge, and the bonus, of course, on top of having like getting a running start on any project you're doing, is that you get a community often with the software you're using. And with the community, you get people to talk with, you get maybe even some support, and who knows, you can even recruit competent people that know about the tools you're going to use to make the software that you sell to your, or the service that you sell to your customers. And almost best of all these benefits are free, with the asterisks. The benefits are free, but there are terms and conditions. We all know this stuff, I hope. There are costs, definitely. It takes time and it costs to write the software, but who does it? It takes time and costs to organize the community events, but who does that? And there's a bunch of overhead here that you usually don't think about. It could be just managing a project, making sure the bug tracker is up to date, motivating people, or just making decisions about which tasks are important or less important. Who does that? I would say software development is mostly funded by either volunteers, people doing their own thing and they just have the pet project, or more likely there's a business saying, yeah, we like that what you're doing there, you can do some of that development on company time, that's fine. When it comes to organizing events, my impression, at least in the Perl community, is that it's all about the volunteering. If you go to Perl events, there's just a handful of open source conferences out there that have permanently paid staff, like OSCON, they make a living out of that. Some of the major conferences, huge ones, they might have somebody who can make a living out of organizing events. But if you come to a tiny community like the Perl community, ourselves, it's all about volunteers. And if there is any overhead that needs to be handled, if there's any other tasks that need to be done, it's all like, if somebody has the free time to do it, they might be doing it. It's just people spend their own time on it, and those are the places where the cost is being paid. So what do we pay with? And usually it's in the form of calorie hours of attention. How many hours of coding time can we put in any week? You usually call this time, but it's like time with an effort to it. So we could say watt hours or something, I don't know. But there is an opportunity cost there also, which is nice to have in the back of our minds, and that is sometimes we choose to hack on something we're interested in that is part of the open source community and it's useful for people and that we care about just because it's fun or whatever. But we could have worked and earned some money or something else, done something else. So when we make an effort, we do it knowing that we could have done something else, maybe more valuable in some way. And volunteers, that's usually people like you guys, myself, the people who are organizing the conference here, Perl Mongers. We're usually techies. Is there anybody in here that isn't a techie of some sort? No. I don't know if you've met any organizers that are naturally good at that. My impression is those are extremely rare. So, okay, that's about it. This is the thing you hear from people who are techies. When I'm asking them, hey, you want to help me organize this little thing? I'm not an organizer. I prefer to code, or I don't like hurting developers, or oh God, please don't force me, or help, I'm doing organizing stuff. This is like, usually it's difficult to involve people, a certain amount of people. I would say most technical people. We're not like organizers, we are coders. But still, somebody has to do it. And a few of us take on this, I don't know if it's called a leadership role, but it's not perhaps being a leader, it's just like getting shit done. Some of us do it voluntarily. And We do it even if it's a bit annoying and we actually don't like doing it. And we might even be suited for the job, but we do it anyway because the benefits of having a conference or a meetup or a hackathon are actually pretty big. And for me personally, my biggest experience in exactly this thing here is the benefits from the Perl QA hackathon, the Perl Toolchain Summit. It's been awesome to see all the stuff that's come out of that over the years. And yeah, sure, I can organize something out of my own time, take some time off my work hours and make something happen. So that means, yeah, well, we have to struggle with a few things like burnout and recruiting new people, and nobody wants a second unpaid. This is like when we're asking people to volunteer, they have to find some motivation other than getting paid, because, well, we're all volunteers, right? We can't pay people, we don't have money to do that, usually. So, but we still manage to do stuff, and if we have to be honest with ourselves, we have a few issues to resolve, and some of those I'd like for us to talk about here. So, just to make clear what is going on here. We, as a community, together, and the individuals here, we produce the code that businesses all over the world find so valuable, and that helps them keep going. And we're the ones who choose by the actions we do and the discussions we make to enforce the culture we have. Like the team towdiness of offering people multiple ways of doing things, or choosing to be strict about backwards compatibility, or choosing to include people. This is our choices. We, as the techies who are the community today, this is what we do. This is our role. And we're the ones who make sure there are venues where we can meet and discuss and share and do whatever we want. We're also the guys who organize hackathons and workshops, and we do know that those things, the code and the community together, makes a fantastic thing in sum for businesses all over the world. So we are the community, and we know what's cool and interesting and what the pain points are. We know how to take the pulse of what's interesting, so we can put together an engaging schedule for a conference, for example. And we know the people. We know who to send a mail to and say, hey, would you like to come to Oslo to give a talk or something like that, wherever you are from. And we are the people competent to know how the ecosystem works, what the pain points are, what the dynamics, and maybe even how to influence it. So whatever I'm going to talk about in a moment, this is at the base. So we're still having the main main role in the communities here. And we're the best ones, we're the people best suited to actually organize something, even if we don't like to, or we suck at it, or it's annoying. We can actually pull it off because we know what's necessary. But we need help. That's what I'm standing here to help us to think about. And that's where the role of the businesses come in. What they are into is creating something valuable. As such, it's supposed to be so valuable that somebody else is willing to pay for it. And to make that work, you have to spend the least amount of resources to do that. And using open source makes that equation really nice. So if you look at the profit and divide by the cost, if the number is higher than 1, you're doing okay. And if the cost is really low, like near 0, you're doing fantastic as of how much value you can create over time. And with the open source communities, there's a lot of cost that's really low. Somebody else is paying that cost. And for a business, it's a tool, the software they use, and it's a way to improve the equation. And the software is free, right? Well, okay. Taking into account the choice of licenses we pick. If we're liberal, like with a 3-sig license, it means you could do whatever you want. It's kind of implicit that, dear business owner, you can do whatever you want. It's completely fine if you're a freeloader. This is a gift to you. Don't worry about it. We'll manage on our own. There's something weird going on with the points here. All right. So the businesses ask. No one is asking us to pay. This is okay. Yeah, this is by design. So let's take a short moment and try to create transfer these two communities, or these two actors, or these two fictional people or whatever, into a relationship between regular people. Well, how would that look like? I would say like something like this. In first scenario is, hey, C, this is I'm B now. Call me Bob. Can you help me solve this? And C says, sure, I love helping. Here's a few calorie hours of attention from me. And B says, yeah, thank you. This is awesome. You helped me solve this. That's like one way of doing it. The second way is the same. Hey, can you help me solve this? Yeah, I love helping you. Here you are. Thanks for that. And if you can keep on going, this is what it usually happens. If you, I would say, maybe I'm provoking you a little bit now, but a guy Bob asks, "Can you help me with something?" And the other guy, Carl or Carol, says, "Sure, I love helping," and offers some calorie hours of effort in some way that helps solve that problem. And then if the person who is asking for help is polite, they say thank you afterwards. And one day, Carol comes and asks, "Hey, could you help me fund this little event I'm trying to do?" This is awesome. I'm organizing something. And then Bob says, "Maybe. What's in it for me?" And of course, we want to defend the expenditure of money. If you come, you'll learn lots of stuff, and you meet interesting people, and it will teach some stuff that makes yourself much more efficient and better. You'll grow and learn and become a better person. And Bob might say, "I'll consider it. Could you write me a sponsorship prospectus laying out all the benefits I would get from helping you?" I don't put any bitterness in my voice as an indication of how that works, but this is there's a history behind this. Sure, I'll spend a few color hours of attention for you. So the person who is helping ends up doing more stuff to help. So this is a rather imbalanced relationship I've just painted here for you guys. Of a group of people who, by design actually, and by choice, are giving away all kinds of time and effort and code and attention for the benefit of anybody who wants to take or use this beneficial stuff, and get very little back. And if you get anything back, you have to ask very nicely and say, "Pretty please, could you become a sponsor, or could you help us buy some pizza for our meetup?" Or this is it's a bit lopsided. On one side, you spend calorie hours of attention, time, and the other side, you get maybe some money if you ask nicely. This stuff here, the money, is usually something that grows on trees. If you have a successful business, you get the resources to make shit happen. But the calorie hours, we're never getting back. They're spent. If we choose to spend 10 hours organizing a meetup, we will never ever get those 10 hours back, even if the meetup is successful or fails. Yeah, what can we do to what can we do anything about this? That's the question today. Should we do anything about it? Because we've been living with this imbalance since the beginning of the open source movement and free software movement when it was like since the 80s. And it's kind of worked out pretty well anyway, right? We've won, right? Everybody uses open source software now because it's free. It's a fantastic way to create value without almost any effort at all. But still, there is effort being spent here. And can we do something about this, fix it without changing or losing our identity, who we are as a group of people, as a community of our values, and without scaring away the businesses that we actually like, and we often do it since we have one foot in the business world and one foot in the community world. We want to make sure that things, and very often when we choose a project to use, a framework, it's because we want to be more efficient for ourselves on behalf of our employer. So we're kind of, we want to change the relationship without making people, the businesses say, no, if you ask me for money anymore now, well, we'll just stop using you. I'll start re-implement everything in Python or something, I don't know. And I would say we also have some core ideals here in the Perl community that we don't want to sell out. So I'll propose something. It's a modest proposal. It does not involve eating babies, just saying. The title is incidental. So what we need is people who actually like organizing stuff and enjoy the communication and love reaching out to people and help us reach out of the bubble we're in. So I would say let's invite our colleagues to the Perk community. Just plainly go to the people who we usually don't talk with during lunch, the salespeople maybe, or the marketing people, or some of the graphic designers, and then talk with them. We can do it by sharing stories with stuff that's going on in the Perk community and show them a little bit about the value of what's going on there and insanely benefits that the business gets from having this community in its back. Because maybe they don't know about us. Maybe it's just like, oh, the techies do this. They go to their conferences and drink some beer and eat some pizza or whatever. They don't care about it, but it's kind of important in some ways. Let people know which role the Perl community actually has in the success of the business. And maybe even invite some of these people to our events, I would say. Yeah, that sounds a bit scary. Some of the managers that I've met would probably benefit from it. I've tried to get managers, my early managers, to go to Perl conferences. I've usually failed, and I'm not good at selling why it's useful for them to come. Marketing people, I don't know. This is not an easy task. Maybe something else has to change for this to become easy. But here's the point. In any case, we would like, if we want them around, we have to show that we appreciate them. This is very much like the keynote a few moments ago. We have to actually tell people, yes, we'd like to have you here. You have a role. You're needed. And there's a few implications of this, of course. We have to actually make room for them at, say, a YAPC. That means maybe we need some talks and topics that are relevant for them. Who knows? Maybe how to reach out to the technical communities for hiring purposes, but a message made for people in human resources. Or here's a lot of ideas we can try and explore and figure out and come with suggestions. We'll probably have to learn how to become social with people that we don't necessarily immediately resonate with. I think that's doable. Recently I worked at an office where I'm the only technical guy, and there's still nice people that I have lunch with. And yeah, I'm trying to talk a little bit about technical stuff. They usually get their eyes glaze over for a moment, but I'm trying to get them an idea of the dynamics about why the open source community is awesome that I'm part of. What makes it, or the quid pro quo kind of feedback loops that we have, where we talk about something and figure out what's wrong, and then together fix that, and then suddenly this is a benefit that everybody gets. That's actually a kind of ecosystem that I don't think is very common out there. There's novelty just in the way we communicate and cooperate. It's worth sharing with people and saying to them, you can be part of that if you want. And we have to lower the bars of entry. That means maybe some of our crazy old habits need to be polished. I don't know what those might be. Could be the usual discussions I've been listening into are about make the websites easier to use and stuff like that, or it's too difficult to sign up for a conference, or yeah, sure, there's a bunch of those also. So the goal would be to help people see that the Perl community is part of their business, their lives, and to help them find a place in our community if they want, and to help them help us make ourselves a better place, because they have skills maybe that we lack. And who knows, they might actually be really nice people and we'd love to have them. I think it would be a benefit for everybody. So that's actually half an hour. So we have 15 minutes for comments and discussions. Does anybody have any thoughts on this? Am I producing crazy stuff? Please talk loudly. I will repeat the questions for the microphone or the comments.
Say I'm new to the Perl community and I would like to start volunteering for the Perl community. How would I get started? Because you are looking for volunteers, but there's no easy way to get started with helping the community out.
If you are new to the Perl community and you are a techie, I would say go to the nearest place where you find a meetup group or Perl Mongers group and just get in touch with them. The chances are they might be working on something. They might be preparing next month's meetup. Ask if they want some help. If you want specific tasks, they might be able to help you. Chances are that you'll actually have to just figure out something you would like to do. One of the better strategies I've had for a newcomer to just become a part of a community that I've ever heard about is from I was in Warsaw 2 years ago for a few months and talked with a bunch of people there, and one of them said something fantastic. They said, there are some things I want to learn, some new technology that I think has a good future and is interesting. And what they did was find a couple of really interesting people that had published or talked about this topic and invited them to Warsaw for a panel debate, and just so that the person who organized it could learn stuff. And when they heard about the ideas, the panel participants, they said, "Oh, that's awesome, I would love to come." Then you have a commitment, and then you can go to businesses and say, "Hey, I want to do this, can you help me fund flight costs and hotel and stuff?" And that's something that person did completely on their own. And if you say, if you come to a Perl Mongers group and you want to make this like something part of a Perl Mongers group, then you just put your foot inside the Perl Mongers group and say, "I'll organize next month's meeting. Is that okay for you?" And chances are people will say, "Awesome." And maybe even buy you a beer or 3. Who knows? So this is a just do it thing. But if you want to, if you're a non-techie, the answer would be perhaps a bit different, because you probably would have to speak more and learn more about the community and get to know the people and what's important. Because certain tasks that organizers, like at least myself, I'm speaking very much from my own experiences, some things are tedious. I would love to have somebody who is awesome at pushing a message on all social media and making an event look super interesting so that lots of people want to come. That's a skill set I suck at. And if somebody says, "I can do that," you guys seem like a bunch of hoopy fruits, something like that. A nice gang. So, but I assume there's at least some sort of discussion or negotiation or learning in any case. Does that answer your question? Okay. So that was a question. A comment? Yeah, there is what you're saying is there are basically externalized costs, and if you look at what was the environmental movement has similar problems. They have an issue where they want to make visible that there are consequences, and that effort takes time and is difficult, and yes, we have to do it. That made me. I had a story about that, but maybe I'll get back to it because I just forgot it. Yeah, but do you have any ideas on like other than saying I agree? Yeah. All right, this is a step to articulate. I think I was really conservative when I just picked a number. This is a. It's not. I would say, acknowledging the value of what the open source community produces. That's and then realizing that feeding something back gives you good code back. I would say that's like level 1 awareness of what's going on. Then you understand that if you massage a developer's muscles in the neck, he'll become happier or she'll become happier and perhaps relax a little bit, and suddenly there's an idea and you solve a problem. That's a non-techie way of helping. It doesn't have to be a bug report or a pull request or something. But there are long-term effects also. Like if we look at the room here, we have about a 50% gray hair factor here. That's okay. So we're old school. We are battle hardened. We have lots of experiences, or we have problems with our hair color that we have no control over, or we choose not to dye our hair, or maybe some other things. Maybe there's some experience in there, but if we're going to have a healthy community for the next 100 years, like Larry is envisioning, having made a 100-year language, kind of have to start recruiting. But in order to start recruiting, we have to make the whole thing we're doing more interesting to new people in ways we perhaps don't know. And just starting out by admitting that we don't have a clue, even if we've been doing this for 20 years. Let's see if we can find some new people that might have a clue by just making sure that they understand what we're doing for them, that they're welcome to come and join and have a beer with us, and that we're actually a pretty nice gang. Maybe they'll come and say one day, hey, you know, I see you guys need kind of could do some things a little bit better. I'll help you a little bit. Or you can do a shortcut like they did in Tokyo with the YAPC Asia and just say, fuck this, I'm going to pay a professional event manager to run stuff. That works also to bootstrap stuff. But with these ideas here, I'm thinking mostly how can we distribute this? How can we help the whole community by doing something locally? Yeah. Yes. Yeah, we can. So yeah, so the. Yes, that's getting out of the bubble is still some. Yeah. Getting out of the bubble is something we can do in any case. That is probably just saying I'm going to a Ruby conference to show off some Perl code. I don't know if I'll do that, but that's possible. That's definitely an option and a way to reach out. That's probably one of the cheapest ones, but that's still a type of activity which doesn't relieve our own time spent. We're still spending our own calories per hour on doing stuff. And my goal here is to find people who can offload the stuff we suck at by saying to them, come and enjoy, have a nice time with us, and maybe you'll learn something, maybe you'll understand us better, maybe you'll just have awesome beer, and that's enough. For some people, they love that. I don't know how to go about this. I'm here to ask you guys now. So, but yeah, reaching out, you can do it explicitly with making a point of going outside the bubble, but that, while that works, and while it works also in parallel with the other stuff we talked about, I think it's not enough, and it doesn't influence the equation of time spent versus resources gained. Yeah. Yeah, but that's still technical people talking with technical people. Yes, but we couldn't say just to somebody who is a lawyer talking about the legal issues around the software licensing issues, or some interesting development in the legal space. Or you could talk about the marketer, make the marketer give a 101 for people, and that's a way, actually. But it's kind of, my suggestion here wasn't to find new ways for us techies to gain benefit. I was actually trying to suggest that if we open up to create events that are beneficial for people outside our bubble in general, not just because it's a technical thing, but because it's useful on a social level, or on a legal level, or a communications level, or any kind of non-techie sphere of interest or topics, then we can enrich the community and gain new allies just by being interesting and showing that we're a bunch of awesome people. And I think we need that. But do we have any stories in the Perl community, or as the Perl community, or as an open source community, that could be beneficial, or that one could learn from if one isn't a techie? The one story that I usually talk about is to teach people to talk about how we cooperate and communicate. We say when we work on a text, a piece of code, I usually say this is maybe like writing a cookbook, a set of instructions, and first then this, then that, and this is the expected result. But we do it together, and we have bloody hell complicated dishes we're making. But we managed to do it anyway because we have a culture, and we have a set of tools and a set of conventions that help us get to the point and identify the actual problems and then fix those instead of just having a mess. And I personally, I think that way of doing open source and thinking about the methodology and about the patterns of how we work is something that might be able to be translated into, say, at least into lawmakers' work, or into writing books for schools, or any kind of situation, like contracts. Writing contracts can be insanely complicated, and usually you might have several people involved. And having a way to show diffs, oh wow, that would be awesome. Just giving them a few ideas and sharing, and this is what we do. That's a way to reach out and make ourselves interesting and relevant for people outside our usual group of people. 2 minutes left. So I think we'll say thank you, unless there's a final comment at the last. Yeah.